At 6 p.m. on June 24, 2025, Thomas Lee Gudinas took his final breath in the execution chamber of the Arizona State Prison. After 27 years on death row, the state carried out his sentence by lethal injection for the 1998 murder of the Ortiz family. This ended a saga that began with a home invasion so savage that prosecutors labeled it a massacre of unspeakable cruelty. To the end, Gudinas showed no remorse for the 3 lives he extinguished. The Nightmare in Mesa. September 3, 1998. Mesa, Arizona. Javier Ortiz, 38, a respected high school teacher, lived a quiet life with his wife Elena, 35, and their 8-year-old son, Miguel. They were preparing for Miguel's birthday the next day. Presents wrapped, cake cooling on the counter. A typical Thursday night turned hellish when Gudinas, high on methamphetamine and seeking cash for his next fix, kicked in their back door. Death stormed into the living room. Gudinas, a 24-year-old with a rap sheet for burglary and assault, wasn't there to steal quietly. He was wired, volatile, and armed with a stolen .45 caliber pistol. When Javier bravely tried to shield his family, Gudinas shot him point blank in the chest. Elena screamed, rushing toward her fallen husband. A second bullet silenced her forever. Little Miguel, hiding behind a sofa, was dragged out and executed with a single shot to the head. Gudinas ransacked the house, stealing $83 and Javier's wedding ring before fleeing into the desert night. The hunt for a killer. The triple homicide sent shockwaves through Arizona. Evidence was grim but clear. Shell casings matched a gun stolen days earlier. Gudinas' fingerprints were smeared on a shattered patio door, and neighbors reported a man matching his description fleeing the scene. A massive manhunt ensued. Gudinas, knowing the net was closing, attempted to flee to Mexico. He was captured just 18 miles from the border at a dusty roadside motel in Nogales on September 5, 1998. Found hiding in a closet, he still had Javier Ortiz's ring in his pocket and the murder weapon tucked into his waistband. The stench of gunpowder and desperation clung to him. The trial. Overwhelming guilt. The 1999 trial was short and brutal. Prosecutors presented an airtight case with ballistics proving the bullets that killed the Ortiz family matched Gudinas' stolen pistol. Forensics placed his DNA under Elena Ortiz's fingernails and his fingerprints throughout the home. Eyewitnesses included neighbors placing him near the scene and the motel clerk identifying him. The ring found in his possession sealed his fate. Gudinas offered no credible alibi. His defense, claiming drug-induced psychosis, crumbled under cross-examination. A Maricopa County jury took just 3 hours to find him guilty on 3 counts of first-degree murder, burglary, and robbery. They unanimously recommended death. The judge agreed, sentencing Thomas Lee Gudinas to die. The forgotten victims. A family's agony. For the Ortiz family, the trial's end marked the beginning of a deeper hell. Javier's students left flowers at his classroom door for months, their grief notebooks filled with tributes to the teacher who'd promised to take them to the Grand Canyon. Elena's nursing cohort graduated without her, their white caps bearing her name in gold ink. But Miguel's absence carved the cruelest void. His untouched Transformers cake rotted in an evidence freezer until Christmas. His Little League jersey, number 9, for his never-celebrated birthday, hung in a closet at his Aunt Isabella's home, still smelling of sweat and bubble gum. Every September 3rd, relatives gathered at the bullet-scarred Mesa house now owned by strangers. They left Optimus Prime figures on the doorstep while inside, new families watched baseball games unaware of the blood once scrubbed from their floorboards. The Ortiz's extended family fractured. Javier's mother died of a stroke in 2003. Elena's brother became a prison chaplain obsessed with redemption. Only Isabella remained the keeper of relics. The $83 returned by police in a Ziploc bag, Miguel's last drawing of a rocket ship, the patio door shard with Gudinas' fingerprint. She testified at every parole hearing, holding Elena's stethoscope like a talisman. He didn't just kill 3 people, she'd say. He murdered birthdays. He murdered bedtime stories. He murdered Sunday mornings. Decades of delays. For 27 years, Gudinas languished on Arizona's death row. His lawyers filed endless appeals, challenging jury instructions, the effectiveness of counsel, and the lethal injection protocol. Each delay was another dagger in the hearts of the Ortiz family, who endured decades of grief while Miguel's untouched birthday presents gathered dust in an evidence locker. The death warrant. Signed on May 20, 2025, Arizona Governor Katie Hobbs signed Gudinas' death warrant. All federal appeals had been exhausted. The U.S. Supreme Court declined to intervene. The legal road had ended. Thomas Lee Gudinas, now 51, was scheduled for execution on June 24, 2025. Last-ditch pleas for clemency, citing Gudinas' claimed rehabilitation in prison, were rejected by the state board and the governor. The brutality inflicted upon the Ortiz family demands final accountability, the governor's statement read. Inside death row, the killer's hollow existence. Gudinas' 27 years in Florence State Prison unfolded in cell DR 121, smaller than Miguel's bedroom. His world, a concrete bunk, a steel toilet, and 23-hour lockdowns. Guards noted he displayed no photos, only muscle car cutouts. He filed 39 appeals, including a 2010 claim that lethal injection violated his vegan beliefs, though he traded tuna for chocolate. His disciplinary file swelled, slashing an inmate over a radio, 2007, hoarding painkillers in toothpaste tubes, 2015. Psychiatrists recorded affective nullity, no nightmares, just complaints about tepid showers. He taught himself chess by mail, beating a guard in 2022. Checkmate, he smirked. Outside, Isabella lit candles on Miguel's would-be 32nd birthday cake. His only visitor was a German pen pal who sent skull sketches. When his crime partner died in 2023, Gudinas requested extra jalapenos to celebrate. The warden refused. His meth scars faded to silver threads. The Ortiz blood on his hands stayed fresh as the day it dried. The final hours. In his holding cell, Gudinas spent his last day largely silent. He declined most visits. For his final meal, he requested 2 cheeseburgers, onion rings, a chocolate milkshake, and a bag of gummy bears, consumed without visible emotion. When offered a spiritual advisor, he reportedly shrugged, "What's the point?" As the hour approached, did images of Javier, Elena, and Miguel haunt him? Did he recall the birthday cake left uneaten? Or was he, as prison psychiatrists suggested, a man permanently detached from empathy, consumed only by self-preservation until the end? Execution day. At 5:45 p.m., guards escorted Gudinas the short distance to the execution chamber. He walked steadily, eyes fixed ahead. Strapped to the gurney, IV lines snaked into his arms. Witnesses, including members of the Ortiz family, watched through the glass. The chamber's cold embrace. The execution room's fluorescent lights buzzed like trapped wasps. Gudinas lay pinned to the gurney, leather straps cutting into his wrists and ankles. Through the viewing glass, Isabella Ortiz stared at the man who erased her family. Her knuckles whitened around Miguel's Optimus Prime, plastic edges digging into her palm like shrapnel. A prison medic swabbed Gudinas' inner elbows with brown antiseptic. The smell of iodine mixed with stale sweat. Needles pierced his tattooed skin, taped into place with clinical precision. Clear IV lines coiled like vipers toward the executioner's control room. Warden Hayes' voice crackled over the intercom. "Inmate Gudinas, state identification number DR887. Lethal injection sequence commencing at 1800 hours." The countdown echoed off the tile walls. A clock above the witness window ticked audibly. 5:58. 5:59. Gudinas' eyes darted, not to the Ortiz family, but to the IV tubes feeding into his veins. His breathing shallowed. For the first time in 27 years, the smirk vanished. Was he finally tasting fear? Or just regretting the lukewarm milkshake he'd chugged hours earlier? In the control booth, the executioner's gloved hand hovered over 3 syringes. Midazolam, to induce unconsciousness; vecuronium bromide, to freeze lungs; potassium chloride. To stop the heart state protocol required a 12-second pause before activation. The silence grew teeth. Isabella leaned forward, her breath fogging the glass. She didn't blink. Somewhere outside, a desert wind howled. The same wind that carried gun smoke from Mesa on September 3, 1998. His final words. When offered a final statement, Thomas Lee Gudinas spoke directly to the witnesses, his voice flat. "I know you hate me. I know you think I'm a monster. But I wasn't in my right mind that night. The drugs, they made me someone else. I'm sorry for the pain, but I didn't mean to kill them. It wasn't me." No confession, no direct apology to the Ortiz family, only a deflection of responsibility, clinging to the haze of addiction even as the chemicals began to flow. At 6:18 p.m., Thomas Lee Gudinas was pronounced dead. Justice served? The story of Thomas Gudinas and the Ortiz family is a stark tale of choices. Javier chose to build a family and teach. Elena chose to nurture her son. Miguel chose to look forward to his birthday. Gudinas chose drugs, violence, and invasion, choices that led him to a death chamber. After 27 years, Arizona delivered the sentence demanded by the jury. The Ortiz family finally witnessed the conclusion promised decades ago. The countdown that began on that horrific September night has ended. What this means. Gudinas' execution closes a chapter defined by senseless brutality. Regardless of his final words or claims of altered consciousness, the evidence proved he pulled the trigger 3 times that night. He shattered a family and a community. The courts, over nearly 3 decades, consistently affirmed his guilt and sentence. Closing thoughts. Thomas Gudinas died maintaining a fractured narrative of diminished responsibility. Was true justice served for Javier, Elena, and Miguel Ortiz? Could life without parole have been sufficient? Or did the sheer horror of his crimes demand the ultimate penalty? Share your thoughts below. Click here to watch the next video.